This video, we're gonna talk about sourcers, good and bad. What's your thought about that, Tej?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more bad than good. I think it's very straightforward to get into. You don't need much money. You don't need that much knowledge. You just don't need, the kind of responsibility and liability when you're buying an asset yourself. What that means is you generally get a higher percentage of bad apples because it's easy. Anyone can do it. Therefore, a lot of idiots do it. And I think a lot of courses paint it as the way to get into property. And it is. It's a fantastic way to get into property. You learn so much and you're a key part of the process. You build relationships, etc., etc. But yeah, a lot of people just don't do it well. They just go on Rightmove, get a link, maybe offer a couple of grand off, sell it on, but then their fee is a couple of grand. So it's back to market value. And then they think they're a deal sourcer. So it's, yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you agree with what I'm saying or?
Yeah, I'm so tired of it. I mean, I remember you and me, we've been having like conversation on WhatsApp on deal sourcers. Yeah, it's
For like a year now, isn't it? It's like more than a year we've been talking.
yeah, it's so hard, to find a good one. And when you do, the deals just go so quickly,
Yeah.
And even sometimes they go too quick, and you're not even allowed to check the deal before like deciding. You just need to take it. I mean, what the F is that?
Yeah, it's one of the, but I suppose also there's a lot of buyers who just won't do as much due diligence, who they see the percentage, they trust the sourcer, I suppose, and they just take it. And so, when it comes to the sourcer's perspective, I mean, that's great. If you can sell your deal instantly, happy days, right?
So what's your thought about that the deal sources sometimes fix with the numbers, etc.? Do you think it's the investors' responsibility, or should it be both
unfortunately ways? It is the investor's responsibility, but you're paying an average fee $3,000. There's a lot of money now. That's like your first month, that's like your first year's rent in a buy to let. You're paying. Now, you shouldn't have to do any due diligence, in my opinion. Like, really, in an ideal world, you're paying $3,000. That deal has been checked. It's been verified. They've called 4 agents to verify. They've given you 6 comparables with square footage analysis. They've got builders. That's what it should be. But are we ever going to get to a place like that? With certain sources, I think so. There's certain sources we both know, and I would still DD their deals. But I genuinely would trust them. And that's a lot for me to say, but I would trust them, right? So it is on the investor, like no matter what. It's like, look, it's like Rightmove. You see a deal there, the agent says, oh yeah, it's worth 500 when it's done up. Just spend about $2,000 on it. You are laughing at them. You're never going to believe them. You're like, oh, here we go. Unfortunately, it's the same thing with sources. Now, do I think sources really fix or maliciously change the figures? I don't know. I think they're inexperienced. They have bias where, I've got a deal. The end value could be 100, but it could be 80. Let's say 100. And, it's hard to say, are they doing it on purpose or are they not? I'm sure some are, but I think a lot are just not. They're just not experienced, or they're not analyzing it properly, or they just have a bias for being positive.
Yeah. And what about bespoke sourcing? Would you do that?
So what is that? Explain that so people don't know.
So you pay a fee up front to them to source the perfect deal for you, Tej.
Wow, you're selling it to me now, Nana. I wouldn't, because there's so many sources. Like, I'm not putting my capital up front with you when I could go to your mate literally next door who would find it without doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a thing within the sourcing community. Maybe they all need to agree, look, we're only doing this, then we'll have no option. But it's quite difficult unless you trust them. They have a good brand. They've built a reputation to want to do that. I know they only ask for like 250 quid or 500 quid, but I don't know. You really have to trust them. And I don't know. I think I get why they take it. It can cover potential marketing costs.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm just not interested in it. Like it just doesn't appeal to me, like doing that. But again, there's certain sources who I potentially would consider that with, because I've seen their results over like a year. So again, it's a mixed bag, but generally I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. So do you think people do it because they think that they were gonna get a good deal?
I mean, you should, right? Like if that's the agreement, if the agreement is you pay up front, we bespoke for you, then you should get a better deal, no? That's how it should work. So yeah, I think that actually people do think that, but they're right to think it because that's the service that's being offered.